there's a wall. Cool guys, so it's my turn. What's up? I'm Lauren Clark. It's my birthday. Thank you so much for being here. That light is bright, bro. It's okay. Thank you for being here. Cool. So yeah, wow, life. Actually, Marcella reminded me of the story of the day that I was born. It was dramatic. Like I got here a month early. I was a preemie baby. You would not expect that by looking at me now. But I like to think of myself as like a baby in my mommy's tummy, just being like, get me out of here! I want to live! Like every birthday, I'm just like, oh, you're so impatient. But my mom did tell me that I was born at 3 p.m. So I did wake up today and I was like, I'm still 29. You can't take that from me. Yeah, I don't know. I cling to youth. But yeah, so my 30th birthday happening right now. It's been interesting, my 20s. I feel like getting closer and closer to my 30s, it's been like a real goal, because I'm like, that's when I'm going to be an adult. That's when I'm going to have things figured out. And, you know, I'm going to turn into the person I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Which is emotional. I might cry a couple of times during this. Don't get weird. Feelings are good. Sorry, why am I angry? But the closer and closer I get to my 30th birthday today, I am getting a lot of people telling me that 30 is the new 20. And I'm just kind of like taking it in. But also, if 30 is the new 20 and I have to do that shit again, like, come at me, bro. I am ready. In a way that, like, when I was turning 20, I was like, I'm so cute. I'm so beautiful. I'm so smart. Look at me. I'm in college. And I was, like, ready. I was excited. And now I think it's, like, still similar turning 30. It's very, like, I'm excited, but I'm also like, who wants to fight? I have seen some shit. But also, I could be, like, low-key mentor for you, too. Seen some shit. The other, I suppose, feeling that I'm having when people say 30 is the new 20 is because it's like, oh, you're trying to, like, make me go back to the start. Like, I think you have good intentions. You want to remind me that I have time and that I'm young. But you're trying to make me go back to that shit. Much like the movie The Labyrinth. See how I brought David Bowie back into this? I brought him up at the beginning of the show now. Okay. Anyways, the movie Labyrinth, for those of you who don't know. Actually, can you tell me, like, raise your hand if you have seen this movie. It is insane. Oh, cool, a lot of you. I told this the other night to an audience who had not seen it. So I literally today was, like, looking up the synopsis, and it's like, oh, it's just a girl in a maze, and she has to go through an impossible maze, and David Bowie sometimes is like, fuck you, go back to the beginning. I'm like, why not just say that at that other show? Like, it's so simple. But it's not. Because there's, like, swamps and hands, and, you know, the hands. Okay, nope. I thought you were gonna react to that. It's a crazy movie. It's a crazy movie. But, like, yeah. I feel like I'm Jennifer Connelly, no big deal. And I'm walking through the labyrinth being my 20s. Stay with me. And then I finally get to the castle, right? And it's like, cool, there's a party. They're singing, dance, dance, dance. You remind me of a babe. What babe? What voodoo, voodoo, you do what? Remind me of a babe. So my baby. It's a great movie. Crying hard as babes could cry. You can sing along. Or don't, I'll go on. I get to the castle, and I'm looking at it like, puppets, party, David, yes. And then David comes down in his glorious spandex. I don't even see his face anymore, I just see genitals. His genitals send me back to the beginning, which are my 20s. That I have that experience every time I hear that phrase, 30 is the new 20. So heads up, don't say it to people who are turning 30. That's the end of joke 1. Thank you for the applause. What's up, bitch? That was my space work. So, I am a child of divorce. Let me go back. Not the reaction I was expecting. I am a child of divorce, but my parents split up when I was 13 years old. My dad moved out, but they didn't technically divorce until very recently. And my thing is like, I actually think it's a lot harder to be a child. No, sorry. I think it's a lot harder to be an adult of divorce than it is to be a child of divorce, because I'm like dealing with this shit right now. You know what I mean? And I keep going back and forth and just like, well, you know, they had their thing, they were good parents. It was confusing for a really long time, but there's finally an end, there's finally a closure. And I'm sure this won't affect me at all. And I'm like still kind of like processing how I feel about that. But I'm doing it here because my therapist is so busy. Like, he's got a lot on his plate right now. And that reminds me, I don't know if it's like ethical, but he went to a comedy show that I was in recently. And when I say went, I mean he bought a ticket, and I could see that he bought a ticket, but I couldn't tell if he actually showed up, because after the show, he did not say hello. And I've never been able to talk about it in therapy. Just like, were you there and you just didn't have a good time? Tell me. If you don't keep it real with me, who will? Who will? But I think when relationships, like the dynamics change, it kind of like scares me. So my parents are getting a divorce. I'll be alright. I'll be alright. Cool. somebody quietly said that. Thank you. Thank you for your support. I was lucky enough. Gotta use the bathroom? That's cool. Relieve yourself. I was lucky enough to go home recently. I'm from Indiana. Woo! That was cool. I went home recently and had a bit of a realization when I went home. And you know how like we all have our roles in our family and things like that. I realized my role is like bratty baby. I'm like kind of a brat in my family. I'm also the youngest of 3 siblings. So it's weird to talk about. The thing that I realized was, for instance, my sister. The way she introduces me to her friends and like other family is with slightly more of an accomplishment than I've actually achieved. For instance, when I was in grade school, she would introduce me. It's like, hey, this is my sister Lauren Clark. She didn't say Clark. She didn't say my last name. I always said that way. She was like, hey, this is my sister Lauren. She's really smart. She's a straight A student. And I'm like, bitch, what report card are you looking at? I wasn't a straight A student. I had a couple of C's, believe it or not. I did. I was average sometimes. But I don't know. She always just like, it was cool because then people would always be like, oh, that's so nice. You're such a nice sister for paying attention. I'm like, no, she's not. She's not paying attention. I don't know. And then when I graduated from college, the thing that she would do is she would introduce me to her friends and say, this is my sister Lauren. She just graduated from college with honors. And I'm like, no, that is not true. I graduated average, barely did it. Yeah, thank you for laughing. It's funny. Because it doesn't matter. Like, I have a degree, which is cool, and I can like feel like there's some status there, but it really didn't fucking matter. And it mattered to her to tell people But this last trip, the thing that made me realize that this is a thing that she does, is she introduced me to her friend Whitney, and she said, "This is my sister Lauren. She's a comedian on the NBC." Which, in her defense, I did do improv for many years with the UCB, the Upright Citizen Brigade, and some of those letters are similar to NBC. So, I'll take growth where I can get it. Woo! Are you guys having fun? Oh man, people moved. I have to look at my notes. The labyrinth got killed. That was really good. Yeah, that was super fun. I should have sang longer. What am I at? What am I at right now? Sorry, this is Alex, everybody. She's taking photos. Keep track of time. I did do it alone, is what I'm saying. It takes a village. Some of my family's here. We'll just have a photo shoot now. I do look amazing. Thank you. What am I at? Oh shit. Alright, that's cool. So I guess since we're at the halfway point, this is where I'll get really real. I guess divorce is pretty raw, but whatever. You guys can critique me later. So going into my 30s, the thing that I want to do better is connect with God. Because I do believe in God, but I don't know that I believe in Jesus, which is dangerous to say as a black woman. Literally, my mom is in Indiana. No, my mom is in North Carolina, and I'm like waiting for her to be like, "What did you say?" Like I'm waiting for her to come out of that dark corner. And hear me out on this. It's not that I don't believe Jesus was a great man, and I'm sure all those things that he did in the Bible, boy, weren't those great. They were great. He's a great man. But I'm just like, maybe, what if, perchance, what if there's more than one Jesus? You know what I mean? I know, thank you, somebody said, whoa. What if there's more than one Jesus? What if there's like one for every era? Like Martin Luther King, that was an era. And MLK, what a lucky time the 60s were. They had two Jesuses. I'm sure everything was going great back then. They had two Jesuses who were crucified. Politics. I also think, I think about if there's a Jesus in every era, who are today's Jesuses? I think it's probably Kendrick.
Yes.
Kanye. Musically, in the studio, if he keeps that shit in the studio, maybe. Keep him off of the news, keep him off of Kimmel. You knew that would set me off too. Shut your mouth. J. Cole. J. Cole's the man. Oh my god, Obama! Holy shit! How did I think of rappers first? As Jesus is. Oh, I guess because I was going to say Tupac. Yeah, so many Jesuses. But yeah, they've all done great work. Do you guys ever just remember Obama and then get a little sad? Yeah. That's what's happening right now to me internally. I'm just like, oh, I miss you. Daddy, come back. Yeah. This is a comedy show, though. So I need to get it together. Let me see. I'm just going to keep this up here with me. I'm working stuff out. Oh yeah, the other part of that is praying. I really want to pray better because I feel like my go-to prayers are prayers that my mom taught me and prayers that I learned in Sunday school. So at night, now I'm laying down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
If I should die
before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. I always say it with that intensity. I think you kind of have to, because it's a pretty dramatic thought to have as the last thing you sleep. And I'm always just kind of like, yeah. And these 7 hours, I do get 7 hours every night. 6 is not enough, 8 is too many. In these 7 hours, if the Lord should take my soul, isn't it a comfort to know that He will because I asked? Prayer works. But then sometimes, like in the morning, like even today, oh boy, sometimes I'm like praying to God, and I'm like, thank you for my mom, thank you for my dad, thank you for my sister, thank you for my brother, blah, 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 like doing all the things that I'm supposed to do because that's how I was taught. And then even ending it with like, in Jesus' name, amen. Like, I don't even know what that means. Not truly, I don't think. Like, I know what it means, but I don't feel it. I don't feel connected. So I'm trying really hard to like connect in prayer. And if any of you have information, no, I don't know. I'll figure out a way to end that better, but I love the Lord. I know that I love the Lord, and I love God. And I don't understand how people can be artists and not believe in God. Like, I don't get that. Like, you think that your joke that you wrote is more difficult than like a mountain? Or like a leaf? Like, how many leaves are there? There's so many leaves. Somebody did that. Like, I know science. I get it. Science is important. Science exists. But like, what was before science, you know? So that's kind of why I'm like torn. I'm always like, gosh, I love God, but geez Louise, what about the Big Bang? Who put those dang dinosaurs here? I'm crying through my nose. I don't want to ruin my eye makeup. Yeah. Anyways, where are we at?
About 9 more minutes.
Sweet, 9 more minutes. 9 more minutes. We just cheer 9 more minutes for 9 minutes. I'm good. Don't worry. I'm still in control. I love you so much. Thank you for being a sounding board. The next real thought I want to hit you with is I'm a black woman. I'm a black woman, and in the last couple of years, I've been really getting into that's weird to say. I've been really like prideful over my blackness because growing up where I grew up, it was never really a thing that, I mean, like we talked about it, we celebrated Black History Month, and like I knew the facts. I knew factually that I was a black woman, but I didn't really understand what I meant until I think people started getting shot because of the color of their skin, you know? And that, I like it all started with Trayvon pretty much, or at least for me. I don't know where it started with you. I know it's been a problem for a long time, but, you know, and the most recent ones, Nia Wilson and Antoine Rose, R.I.P., like they were kids. They were kids, and it was senseless. And I'm even now getting goosebumps because I'm just kind of like, this is the world we live in. And growing up for me has made me come to terms with the fact that, ooh, don't cry through your nose. It's made me come to terms with the fact that I think it's important for me to really connect with my identity and my background because, like, people want to hurt me because of it. And the more I deny it and the more I run away from it and don't know about who I am, the more, like, I think the bigger target I am. The bigger target we all are. So I'm trying to do this thing where I'm no longer numb about it and I'm embracing my blackness a little bit more. And for me, that all started, I could tell something was going on when I was talking about one of these senseless killings with one of my friends. And I just like, it was a point where I just like didn't identify in my heart as a black person. And I was just like, gosh, I wonder if the cops would shoot me. And then my friend looked at me and she was like, Lauren, you're annoying as fuck. The cops would definitely shoot you. And I was so numb that I was like, thank you. Oh, they would see me finally. I don't know. That went okay. That was cool. But yeah, so now you know things that I'm working on. I really think that I have two voices in my head. I think most people do. I think most people have like the typical things like devil, angel, right? But I don't think mine is that simple. I think mine is like crazy wild bitch who is sometimes fun and funny, and then like serious, everyone's out to get me, you need to stand your ground, leave no survivors. And that's the one who just like is always thinking and can't chill the fuck out. And then there's the other one who's just like always high. So that's kind of how it like breaks down for me, I think. Sometimes I'm really like, and then other times I'm like, ah, cool. I don't need that anymore. Yeah. Thank you. But I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make friends with the voices in my head. The voices in my head are my friends. And kindness is a weapon. And kindness is something that I can like put into both of these voices, right? Ooh, how can we do this? How can we end this on a cool? I'm trying to do like a really, like you know in those TED Talks where they like make a cool point? Yeah, you know. They make a point and then they end and then they're just like, it's me, and then it's black out. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do that so bad, but now I just feel like I'm just rambling. Hey, I got new Jordans today. Wow, big applause for that. No, so yeah, there's two voices in my head. I hope that was good. And I think the thing that I'm realizing, and it's taken me a while to realize, is that I'm good. I'm a good person. I'm warm. I think I hugged every single one of you. And that's just who I am. Like, I know that I'm good. How many more times did I say it? Jesus. It was pretty recently, actually, where I overwhelmed someone with my warmth. It was another comedian. And I think what really caught the guy off guard was that I remember meeting him like 6 months before. And also, they had like 3 sisters. And I saw the change happening in his face. He was just like, oh my God, a nice person? What? Like, but still carrying on a conversation with me, but having this whole process. And I'm talking about God knows what. Probably sandwiches, because I love me a sandwich. And he's just like having this process. He's having this process, and like I can see it happening just like, oh shit, she's so nice. I have to be nice as well. Fuck, I forget her name. What's her name? I'll ask. And then in his head, he's thinking, oh my gosh, her name is Lauren Clark. That is basic as fuck. How did I forget? And yeah, it is Lauren Clark. It needs. Thank you so much for being here for my first show. I would like to give another round of applause. Keep it going for Jeff, Marcella, and Kelly. And I'm Lauren Clark. You can find me on the gram. All of you already have that info. So thank you again.